Hello and welcome to the Dad and Buried podcast. As always, my name is Mike, aka Dad and Buried, and tonight I'm here again with my co-host Pete.
Hi everybody, I'm Pete, and I write checks my body can cash. So
It's your
yeah,
ego is writing checks. So is your
no,
ego writing checks?
no,
Or
no,
you're
no, no.
actually
I
writing
literally write checks that my body can cash.
Well,
So
I don't know. Is that impressive? Where do you put the check?
you know what? It's a whole system that I have going on. It's largely focused around my liver and kidneys and other vital
Wow.
organs. Yeah, there's maybe Wuhan might be involved. It might not be. We don't know. We
Let's
don't
not
know.
get there until all the facts are in.
Till they're
Um,
all in. Yes, no, I'm just joking. I, in fact,
oh,
write
you're
checks that my
joking.
body can't cash all the time.
I watched Top Gun recently, which is where the line that
Yeah,
the movie that line is from. I watched it with my wife the other night. She loves to watch 80s movies. She wants to watch something fun. It's usually in the 80s and involves high school kids. Often
yeah,
it's just about high school kids, not necessarily the 80s. For some reason, that's her wheelhouse for like let's
yeah.
have a good time. So we watched Top Gun,
hmm
one of the quintessential 80s movies. Enjoyed that line. Very entertaining.
hmm
A lot of subtext that we don't need to get into on this episode. We'll do that. We'll talk about it offline, okay? Just watch the
Okay.
movie Sleep with Me. Watch the movie Sleep with Me. Little known movie. Quentin Tarantino shows up as an actor in the movie, and for about 2.5 minutes, he gives a little monologue about what Top Gun is really about. Very entertaining. You can watch that on YouTube. Anyway, we're not going to be talking about that in tonight's episode. We're going to do a spin-off. I should do a spin-off podcast about like just
Yeah.
movies and TV for some
It would be you talking without taking a breath for 40 minutes.
somebody throw out the name of an actor or a movie, and I'm just off for like.
Yeah, yeah, and it's a little bit like what's great is you're really giving them the Mike Julianelle experience, like just sitting there, like when you're at your place when we're hanging out, and someone just says something, and then 40 minutes later you kind of wake up and you're still
You're like, why
you're
am I
still talking
here?
about Enemy Mind, and you're like, whoa, what happened to me?
I don't think I could fill 40 minutes talking about Enemy Mine, but certainly about Dennis Quaid and Louis Gossett Jr. and then doing a bunch of the Enemy Mine.
Yeah, no, trust me.
That's
You're gonna take whoever is sitting down on a wild ride. Throughout that.
And then you know what? I'm really thinking about putting this together. I have no visual aids. I can't show anybody a clip or anything.
No.
It's just all my interpretation of whatever I'm talking
Yeah.
about. I'm into it.
And then it sort of just devolves into you just reciting different characters' lines, maybe
Yeah.
maybe in context, maybe out of context, just saying phrases from the movie.
You're literally describing my marriage. Straight up.
You know what? I was thinking like Mom and Barry must have been really like, oh sweet, we're watching Top Gun. Cool.
Yeah. I did. She chose the movie, but she did not necessarily choose
Yeah.
the
She
Mike
chose the movie.
experience.
Which one do you want to watch? Well, these are my choices. Yeah, Top Gun or Real Genius. Well, Real Genius would have been a better movie. But
You know what? I've tried to get her to watch Real Genius. She's not as into it.
really,
Yeah.
Real Genius has to be one of the best '80s movies of all time.
I really don't like
Victor Laszlo,
No, he's fine. I don't like the main character, the kid.
Val Kilmer. Oh
I
yeah,
love Val Kilmer, but the kid.
he
And
is
a lot of movies have
mildly
this problem.
irritating.
Right?
What was
So-
the deal with that guy? He just kind of
He
disappeared.
disappeared. I actually read something about him somewhat recently. But a lot of like teen movies sort of have this problem where like even like so Fast Times at Ridgemont High has like Ratner, who's kind of not that cool a dude. Not that you need the guy to be cool, but like Judge Reinhold is one of the main guys. Fast Times at Ridgemont High. You're like, come on, nobody likes Judge Reinhold.
Oh well, he was in
Like secondary
Beverly Hills Cop.
characters. It's like
Yeah.
the secondary characters who end up being like the better characters. Even in like Caddyshack, Noonan. Like who cares about Noonan? You want Rodney Dangerfield on screen.
Right.
Chevy Chase, right? Anyway, how do we start talking about this? We were talking about Enemy Mine.
Yeah, exactly. and then we got into the Mike Julianelle experience. And we
Exactly.
just
You're
went
welcome.
down that rabbit
So
hole.
tonight we're going to do the Dad and Buried experience.
Yes, we
104th episode of the podcast. We're talking about the COVID hangover. And we don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but here in the U.S., it certainly seems like things are looking up. The lowest numbers are coming in terms of infections and rate of infection. A lot of people are getting vaccinated. If you haven't yet, and you can, I would highly recommend that. And it looks like, if not this summer, by fall, we're going to be. Seems like the trajectory is going up. So the summer it's going to be hot girl summer, as they're saying, right?
The trajectory is going up, and the sun is going to be out, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Nobody really knows what that means.
Guns out.
Oh,
We
okay.
wanted to talk tonight a little bit about, it's been what, like
It's been 1 year. It's been more.
months. It's been more than that.
More than a year. Yeah, it's been more
like
than a year.
15 months, something like that. So it's like March to June, right? So let's call it that. That's about 15 months.
Yeah.
And we sort of had to change our lives for a large chunk of it. And now,
Do you think so?
I think so.
That's so weird.
I chose to wear a mask.
Because what's weird is I was always into washing apples with soap. As you know, I was a huge fan of coming home and washing apples with soapy water and then with gloves on, being like, I feel like this is a pretty good idea, right?
Look, man, that's the thing. COVID happened, and there's a contingent of people who were like, yep, I've been waiting on this. I've been washing all my groceries every time I bring them in. Like, delivery man comes, I'm soaping that stuff up, wiping down before I eat anything, like all that stuff. There is a small contingent of people who are like, told you.
We 100%, or I personally, every single grocery was wiped. Clorox Clorox wiped.
Same with us.
I mean, what the hell? Rice Krispie boxes were not meant to be Clorox wiped. Okay, it's just not a cool. It's not cool for anybody. It's not cool for the person doing it. It's not cool for Snap, Crackle, and Pop.
It wasn't a good time. It was not a good time. And that's the kind of thing that makes you wonder why Bill Gates did this to us in the first place. What was your end game?
Well, to distract us from his torrid affairs that he's been having.
Obviously. So, look, we've had 15 months of this. It was just a game changer on every possible level, and now it seems that we're going to be emerging from it. But not all of the things that we adapted to we're not gonna be able to shed all of those things so easily, and that comes to both your mindset and your daily activities and your outlook and just the stuff that you do. We're not going to be washing our groceries anymore, hopefully, knock on wood. But there are some things that are going to be tougher to shake off, and we're calling that the COVID hangover. I think, Did you coin that term yourself?
Yeah, I did. I certainly did. Nobody else did. Nobody on the internet, not a single person on what we call social media web.
Yeah, you wouldn't know anything about that.
Yeah, well, I monitor.
You lurk. You're a lurker.
Yeah, I'm on the dark web. I'm on the dark web.
So that's unbelievable. So it's hardcore hypocrisy where you're like, this is dangerous. I'm not going to be involved in it, but I am going to enjoy it. You're just not going to participate.
Well, what's hypocrisy about that?
Well, you're pretending it's dangerous, but you're partaking in it. Maybe it's just
I don't partake in it. I don't choose to give my opinions on anything.
Yes, but you will go to Twitter and read like the news.
No, I'll go on Reddit and read people tweeting about things that then end up somehow on the news, but it's also very bizarre.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Are you Q?
No, I'm M.
Oh, that's from James Bond. Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct. That's right.
You're his boss. Cool.
That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah. So we'll it's as you said, as it gets lifted, we're starting to come out, and it's, you're walking outside, and we're going to get into it. Like, what is happening?
Yeah,
how to interact with people. I've forgotten how to do that. Have forgotten how to have fun. As you know, it's been a long road where it's hard for me to have any kind of fun. Especially.
You have 3 kids, so.
Yeah. Well, there we go.
A long time ago.
You got that right out. Yeah, got me right out of that. So yeah, we'll get right into that and much more. Much more enemy mind.
We've already covered enemy mind. I was gonna say probably won't get back. You never know though. You never know.
All right, we'll get back into it right after.
Got more meat on that enemy mind bone. All right, it's the Dad and Barry podcast. We're talking about the COVID hangover. I want to remind everybody really quick, you can subscribe and like us on iTunes, on Spotify, anywhere else you get your podcast. You can check us out on YouTube, leave individual comments there. Where else can you do anything else?
Nope, that's it. Then that's the end of the internet for you.
If you try to do other things,
you're gonna get served is what's gonna happen. So don't.
Follow me on social media. You can follow Pete on like the 4chan boards.
Yeah.
Think.
That's right. I'll be there.
And then you can hear us every week. And sometimes it'll be my wife, Mom and Buried, and sometimes it'll be my other wife, Pete.
Yeah.
And we're having a good time. We're just chopping it up.
There you
Tonight
go.
we're going to talk about the COVID hangover. And it's funny because I asked the question on Instagram, and I sort of sometimes with these bigger topics, it's like hard to boil it down into like a quick pithy question that people can respond to. So I asked about what kind of habits or what kind of things have they gotten used to, like parenting things in COVID that they're going to want to change and get rid of, and kind of work their way out of. Because there are people going 0 to 60, but I think most of us were on the on-ramp.
Yeah.
It's going to be a little while. So my wife, she's vaccinated, but she's also on immune suppressing drugs, which limits the efficacy of the vaccine. So we were never going to be like, we're all vaccinated, no more masks, we're going crazy, despite what, New York says. So we're still going to be cautious. We're still going to try to we went on a date the other night. We ate outdoors. We did all that kind of thing. So we're getting back into the world, but baby steps, right? And I think for a lot of us, it will be a little bit jarring. Like come January or September, New York just announced no more remote schooling option. Yeah. Everybody's back full on. It's going to take some adjusting for our kids. It's going to take some adjusting for us.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. I mean, the reason it came to me was it's just simply, my kids walked outside and immediately like there's this reaction, my mask, and immediately putting their sweater over their face, like, and I'm like, dude, it's okay. Like, let's get your mask because they need it for school. But at the same time, we kind of, it's been this grace period now, right? Like it's been about a month where we've started to be like, oh, you know what, actually, it's all working as expected. Mm-hmm. And we don't have to necessarily, I think part of it is, I'm a big, look, if we look at the data, you got to be really cautious when it's going up and you got to do all the right things. But when it's completely down, like it was last summer even, right?
Yeah.
Where, I mean, just the level of paranoia around it was like, okay, I get that level, but let's be clear about what we're talking about. Like in New York State, it was New York State. I think at one point it was like 400 or 500 cases, right? Yeah. And now I think we now have more information as to why that was the case because it's warm out. Sun, I guess, has some effect.
Good. A lot of times they were pretty good about being like, Thanksgiving is coming up. There's going to be a spike 2 weeks after Thanksgiving, and like kind of guessing at that stuff in advance. Yeah. Last summer when it was still so new, maybe not quite as much.
Right.
But I think that paranoia you're talking about with like your kids, I think that's going to take we're not going to necessarily know like the trauma of like the 16 months and what it did to anybody, especially our kids for a little while. Like they're going to grow up when they're like 30. Yeah. They're going to like look back and be like, we had a pandemic, like a year and a half, which is like a singular event of a century. And we're not going to necessarily know it, but like you can't, I hate it when I see my kids like get nervous when they're outside, like, oh, I need a mask for that person.
Yeah. Well, that's it, right? Like, that's the thing. You're like, oh shit, like no, you gotta kind of push through. It's like it's okay. You're now explaining to them, yes, it was really serious and you had to be really careful for 16 months, but now it's actually time to start to push through and you can walk down the street, have the mask down, but then when you go to school, it's definitely mask up. And even still, I mean, the kids are, we play soccer, or my kids, I coach the two kids' soccer games. And, the rule when the season started, of course, which made a ton of sense, was, okay, kids have to play with their masks on, like all sorts of rules. Yeah, no kissing. You can still expose yourself, of course, but like there was just a lot of these rules. And now, even from the beginning, which I think was in March, sort of late March, April, to now, it's really changed, right? Like it's just the numbers have totally fallen off. Everyone is basically, or I say everyone, but almost everybody that are in the league are vaccinated. Most of the people we know are vaccinated, which is a good thing because it means that you can actually talk without your mask down and stuff like that. So the kids still play with their masks on, because they're just,
that's gotta be hard.
Just to like, it's starting to get hot out. It's going to get really hotter.
I was wearing a mask the other day. We're actually in your neck of the woods in Williamsburg. We went to Domino Park. And it was one of the hottest days of the year so far. And like, you're taking it down when you can and stuff, but it was pretty crowded. So we're being cautious. But like that when it's hot out, that mask really gets annoying.
Yeah, it does, and it's okay to be like. I mean, look, even if you're someone who, followed the rules and did everything, like you understood that the mask was a way to prevent a two-way spread. Simple as that, and it was literally the least effort. It was the least you could do. Now that that's over, now that you've been vaccinated or whatnot, it's time. It's time to start living.
It's time to start living. Go nuts. I'm going down to Daytona Beach, no mask.
Yeah.
No nothing.
So that was you.
It's a tradition. It's a tradition. So what's funny, so we're talking about our kids and how it's mentally going to affect them. And I think in a lot of ways, so I have a 10-year-old and a 5-year-old. And my 5-year-old is a long way from, being even able to grasp and articulate any. I mean, he started when he had barely turned 4. Like it's normal to him, right?
No. Honestly, it's one of the things I absolutely hate about your 4-year-old is his inability to grasp large pandemics.
I know.
It's like, dude,
it's very frustrating.
Get your shit together, dude.
It's like you're at a dinner party and you're like, bro, I'm trying to converse here.
We're talking about the COVID-19. Okay, dude. Okay, Hammer.
So like for him, it's been a very large part of like half of his life almost, right? Yeah. And then for my 10-year-old, he's just more aware of it. Like he lost the last year and a half of his school before he goes to middle school, all of this stuff, and he's aware of it and can talk about it, but we're still not necessarily going to know the extent of like what the stress kind of did to kids. And I wrote a thing the other day on my Instagram just about how for the past few weeks or month or so, like I've just been like a really shitty parent. Like I'm at the end of my rope. Yeah. I'm on edge all the time, which is usually I'm on edge just some of the time.
Yeah.
Now,
exactly.
All the time. I'm just like constantly irritated and just annoyed at stuff like to an abnormal level. And I think part of it is just after a year and a half of this thing, like especially when you could see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Well, that's it.
It all adds up.
I think, look, it all depends on what your situation has happened. I think there's been a lot of really serious situations, just over the past year, 16 months, excuse me, like, just having people be locked up, be together for that long. It's really, I mean, it really is hard. And then all that stuff is coming out. Your relationship with your wife is strained. Like everything is just to the max. And then of course the kids are picking. It's less about, I mean, I don't know necessarily. I'm not as worried about, I think this might be one of those like kind of blip on the radar type thing in terms of like the masks. I think more it's just going to be, the arguments and the stress and the yelling and the fighting and like the come on and like everyone, that so there are some things that were learned. I'll just put it this way without going into too much. I feel like there are certain things that were learned over the last 16 months that would not have been learned otherwise, like certain ways of expressing oneself. That were probably, was a result of just being kind of cooped up. And I don't think that that's a good, so that's more what I'm hoping can be unlearned.
The next year, I think, is going to be huge for that, right? In terms of, making sure this was kind of a blip and kind of easing out of it and just being like, okay, I'm like back to where I want to be. The level of interaction I have with my family is back to a more manageable level.
Right.
Like, as an example, my wife and I used to have like, we would watch a movie like once or twice a week, and my kids would have like movie night once or twice a week, like a family thing, during which we would all be yelling and like not being able to agree on a movie, and my wife and I would be browsing forever. Now that happens like 4 or 5 times a week. Yeah. Not so much now, but like at the height of the pandemic, like you were doing that stuff a lot more often because you had no alternatives. It was cold, you weren't going outside, so like all of a sudden the silly argument you had like once a week over choosing a movie becomes like 3 times a week.
Yeah, well that's it, right?
All of that stuff just gets exponentially multiplied just because we're around each other 24/7, 365. I was gonna try to do like 15 months and add all the days, but I can't do that.
No, don't.
Or 55.
Yeah, no, and look, at the same time, while there was a lot of obviously negative stuff, there was some good stuff, right? Like that came out of it. I think the fact.
Tiger King.
What's that?
Tiger King was one.
Tiger King, yeah. God, thank you. You know what? We needed to give a little bit more sort of deference to that wonderful That thing really came along in a time where we needed it.
Well, they're making fictional versions now.
We needed to look at humanity and be like, what is going on in the world? And be like, wow, this guy really exists. Cool.
Yeah, exactly. Well, now the pandemic doesn't seem so bad.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, look, I think one thing that was really interesting. Actually, I've noticed this as well. So one of the COVID hangovers is the FOMO is starting to come back.
Oh yeah.
Right. So now people are starting to go out and they're starting to meet. And so all of a sudden, to your point earlier about like, yeah, lurking on someone else, or I was looking on, my wife was posting, so I was seeing what she was posting, and people were commenting like, oh my gosh, yeah, we're going here, we're going there. Like everyone's starting to post their photos of like different places that they're going to and whatnot. And that, that just like with a bullet ended on March of last year. And so everyone was sort of, you didn't have to think about it. And what a huge weight that was off of your mind.
Everyone was in the same boat.
Everyone was in the same boat. You didn't have to think about it. You could kind of just get on with what you were doing. And that was a really interesting. It was nice because it for at least a few months there, I would say, in many ways, I would say that 2020 was a lot easier than 2021, at least for us, because 2020 you had this like kind of weird magical period of March to May, and then May is starting to get nice. So you can go outside, you can kind of escape it a little bit, right, or a lot. Summer happens, numbers are down, people are feeling okay. Come back to school year is a little wonky, it's a little weird, but you've been doing it a little bit. But then 2021 was just like, it was just kind of brutal because going into that winter was really hard, and then that's when things really started to. At least once
you start waiting for the end, it can't come quick enough, so you get agitated that it's not here yet.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, you were just saying the bump. Like you had the post-holiday, everyone was desperate to hang out. Like I want to go on Thanksgiving. Now we're not going to do it. We're going to cancel it. Ah, shit. And then it's like all those other dickheads who did go, who got COVID, and then the numbers are like through the roof. And then all of a sudden, it made the early part of the year seem like a joke.
Yeah.
Because everyone had COVID and everyone's like, and
that was bad.
Yeah. And then you had from there all the way through to, a couple months ago or a month ago. And you're just like, it was exhausting. Like that was really hard.
Yeah.
It was hard, I thought. And I'm just glad it's over. And hopefully the sooner we can get back to.
Well, now we can get back to like
drinking.
Feeling left out, like when our friends go
camping. Exactly.
Like when our friends go camping for the weekend with their kids. Right.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's exactly right. I specifically posted that so that you would start to feel the FOMO for this article.
We did an entire episode on camping with kids, and my stance at the beginning and the end was no thank you.
Yeah. And mine was very much yes, please. So.
Did you catch any fish?
It wasn't that kind of camping.
No,
this was hardcore car camping, just fire, food.
You sleep in the car?
No, but the car, it's like you're not far from the car.
So like if I went camping with you in like September, I'd be able to like change my fantasy football lineup if I needed to.
No, because you would not. It would not. Yeah, you'd be ostracized from the camp. It simply wouldn't be.
This is why I wasn't invited in the first place, I guess. All right, so we're talking about the COVID hangover, and the way that I phrased it and framed it for the Instagram thing was like, what are some habits or things you've gotten used to that you're gonna have a little trouble shedding? And just right off the bat, I want to start with Big Perm 81 because he showed up. He was like, I'm just going to flex on you people. And he was, I believe it was he said, we busted our ass throughout lockdown. We don't have any habits to break. So this guy's like, lockdown, he's like,
breeze, no big deal.
Time.
Yeah.
He said, I'm exhausted trying to balance post-lockdown, which I can see, right? I don't know what that means, but like trying to like get.
Well,
back
yeah, because he's
world.
Used to, because you're now maybe as a dad, you're home a lot more, and your day like ends at 3:00 in the afternoon or whatever, and it used to end at 6 or something, and or you're kind of just moving your work around, and yada yada, and you're just at school pickup like all the
like
time.
You said, like my kid has little league practice, and I've got to I'm working, and then I got to find a way to bring my kid to little league practice, which I didn't used to have, right? And then there's this, and there's this, and there's this, and all of the social stuff you were talking about that you couldn't have FOMO for because no one was doing it. That stuff is starting to come back, and now once again, it's like, can women really have it all, right?
No, and the answer is no.
I think that's what we've learned is you know what? It's not worth it to have it all, so stop trying.
Not like you, Mike.
Big Perm 81 seems to have got this all on lock, right?
Why do you think it's a guy?
I don't know, because Big Perm's a guy in the movie Friday, which is where the person got their name. That's why I assume it's a guy. But I assume women have perms usually more than guys. But you know what? No shame in your perm game.
That's a character from the movie Friday, and you just picked that out.
It's Big Perm, man. If you've seen the movie Friday,
I have. All right, but I don't.
Where this person got it.
All right, fair enough. Cool.
I mean, there's also a Big Perm character in Enemy Mine, but he's quite different. He's quite different.
Very small character.
So one of the things Big Perm and the rest of us are going to have to get used to is our lives having a little more structure again. So I don't know about you, but in September, my offices are opening again, and we're you can go back in once in a while now if you want and you're comfortable, but come September, it's going to be, you have to come back in at least a few days a week. It'll be a little bit more lax in terms of flexibility, but also schools are opening up again. So it's not going to be any more, me not showering, bringing my kid wherever he's got to go and coming back home and getting on the computer in my PJs. Now I'm going to have to go on the subway again.
Yeah.
My
in your
PJs. Structured in my PJs. So there's a lot more structure coming back at us, which we didn't have for a while. And if you didn't have it, you needed to formulate some kind of it. The first couple of months, maybe not. It was very loosey-goosey.
Right.
But by the beginning of last school year, it's kind of we've been doing this for a while. No more excuses for, workers or for kids. You should have your shit together enough to.
Well, that's it. Yeah. That's another one, right? The Zoom call where the kid comes in. That was really cute in March through May. That stopped getting cute real fast. Come September time, it was dude, come on.
So Geek Dad versus the World says his biggest adjustment is going to be adding structure back to his kids' day to day. So if you don't have kids who have been back in school with a hybrid, or here in New York they opened up again. In January or something. My 5-year-old hasn't gone back to his preschool, and his day is pretty loosey-goosey, the online preschool. So he's going to school in September, right? And this, we got to bring him to school, whether there's a bus or not, we don't know yet. And not only do we have to get used to getting up and getting dressed, these kids got to get used to you're not getting up and watching TV for 2 hours. Every day is not a weekend. Although now we have 3 months of summer where there's probably.
Oh my God, I know.
God. Right on top of the pandemic,
it was so fun. I just said that. It was so funny. I was talking to I was at soccer. I was talking to a friend, and she was like, "Look," she's like, "I can't hardly wait." We were just talking about the school and how everyone's over it, and we had the double whammy where we had a kid going into middle school and then a kid going into high school, and so in New York you have to test and do all this. It's like college applications, except much more complicated in the New York City public school system. Anyway, that both happened, and we were just kind of we're over it. And I literally, she's like, I can't wait for summer. And I grabbed her Billy Madison style. And I said, don't you say that. Don't you ever say that. She's what's going on? I'm like, they're just going to be home the whole time with no structure. And she was like, oh my God, you're totally right. Holy shit. And I'm like, yeah, dude, it sucks. Just
even if they were coming out of it, they're going to backslide now because of the next 3 months. Just the good time guys for 3 months.
Well, yeah, I told my oldest daughter. I told her about senioritis, and because she got into high school, she got into the school she wanted to get into, which was awesome, and we're super psyched. But and she's like, yeah, Dad, we have there's 4 more math tests. It's so great. I'm like, yeah, well, just don't worry about it. Yeah, and she's like, I know, but I'm like, it's senioritis. She's like, what's senioritis? I'm like, I had to explain it to her. Anyway, yeah.
So M. Gleason 2010 says that bedtime needs to be more strict again because they've gotten pretty lax about it. So this was the kind of thing I had more of a problem with this earlier in the pandemic. Not only because we had less to do and less places to go, but also because like if your kids are anxious, right, you're probably a little bit more likely to be like, oh, you can stay up a little later, or like stay in mommy's bed and we'll bring you down when it's time for bed. And just the rules went a little bit out the window. We're gonna have to get back to that. Deanna B. Kane _booking says every second of every weekend, because we're gonna need to learn how to schedule unscheduled. So she's saying booking wasn't part of her name, Deanna B. Kane. So she was saying she's got to readjust to booking every second of every weekend. All the social stuff is back. All the activities are back.
Right.
And it seems like she's gotten used to having more downtime. She says we're going to need to learn how to schedule some of that downtime, some of that unscheduled time. Because I think a lot of people are learning this, that you didn't necessarily have to be quite as go.
Well, this is what I mean, right? This is what I mean about like the FOMO thing, right? Like the fact that you're like, FOMO, I mean, in sort of a wide range, like not just, oh, I wish I was at that place with the, doing something fun like that. It's because that's never going to happen, Mike. So what I'm talking about more is like just the activity, like, oh, my kid has to be like, oh, should I sign my kid up for baseball? Oh, should I sign my kid up for basketball and baseball? Yeah, because I need to try it all out, and you're like, oh shit, like it just becomes overwhelming, and then of course you're, again, we're as parents, we are worn out.
Oh my
God. Straight up worn out. Like this is like there's no other way to describe it. Like, I mean, words do not describe how exhausting it has been for 16 months. The stress, the school, the fucking everything, all the whole part of it, and then now kind of coming back.
Yeah, there's just so much. Like I was like, why have I been like this lately? And then I listed like 8 things, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's all of this stuff.
Yeah, exactly, and it's everyone being in the same house all the time. I mean, like literally, my son curls up next to me, and I'm like, dude, just please, don't touch me. Like, I just don't want someone touching my skin right now. Like, please.
My 10-year-old has been begging his 5-year-old. He's like, just give me some space, because the 5-year-old worships him. Yeah, and just follow him around and like sit right next to him. My 10-year-old is like, I'm like, now you know what it's like. So by far the biggest response I got to this is what is going to be the hardest adjustment question was easing back on the screen time. So D.I. Parnell, Jenna Lund, Healthy Chelsea, get it? 321 Jillian, they were all like, we gave the kids too much screen time. We got to find a way to peel back. 321 Jillian says that she's going to be turning off the Wi-Fi from 1 to 4 during the summer and forcing her kids into the pool, having some kind of limits like that.
Yeah.
Ermin 85 says more time outside, which that's the good thing about summer. Although it was too hot the other day. I was
again, this is what you forget is you're like, oh, I can't wait for summer, and then of course it's like 95 and sunny, and you're like, how much sunscreen did you put on?
Yes.
You can't be out there for 6 hours running around, like you're just like, what the hell? Like you're like, come on in now. They've been out running around for an hour and a half, and it's blazing sun. You're like, okay, you got to come in now.
Get sunstroke.
Yeah, exactly.
Jillian P. Pat says that they need to do a TV detox, which I can understand. Like I said, like more family movie nights happened. It used to be like once a week, and it just shot up because there's nothing else to do. Like,
but family movie nights, I would put that in the bucket of there's nothing wrong with that, right?
No,
I would say that's fine.
Frequent. It just became a lot, and the kids start to expect.
Yeah, but that's I feel like the difference. I mean, I'm thinking is like every single kid on a separate screen. One kid's like watching, like, and the kids are double screening, and just like you look around, you like you have 3 kids all on the screens while the TV's on, and then you just are like, and all you do is you can think like, I don't give a shit. That's it. I don't give a shit.
Hold that thought. All right, 2 things here. So Abby Moretsky says they're gonna have a lot of that screen time, but it's going to be hard to walk it back. And that's what my point was. Like, the expectation has become, oh, but what about this? We used to watch this. Like, no, like, it's like when the school year starts after summer, except even bigger now. It's got to be like, we need to get back. We need to lower the baseline in terms of, what our weeks are like and how much TV you're getting and all this kind of stuff. So I definitely agree with her. But another blogging mother who's become a pretty prolific commenter episode to episode says that not only does she want to reduce the amount of tablet time, she also wants to reduce the amount of mommy fuck it time, by which she means all the time she's just like given in because she was exhausted and exasperated, or just given up, right? So like you walk in, you see your kids, they got the TV on, they're all using tablets, and you're just like, fine, like I need to go to the other room anyway, like I need a break. I'm just giving them that. Because we're so exhausted, we're all so spent, and they're stressed out, and there's not that much else to do. Just a lot more leeway has been given, and going back to being like, being the more like conscientious parent,
right,
and not allowing yourself as much, like you're not going to have the excuse of the pandemic anymore to be like, oh, I just need a break or whatever. You got to start parenting again, which I'm not going to do, but hopefully my wife will pick up the slack.
Yeah, exactly.
We talked about this earlier about when you were making fun of me for taking PJs on the subway. It's New York City, baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
But a lot of people express concerns about getting used to going back out in public, especially with their kids. The questionable mom says she's terrified of how her kids are going to behave, or how her kid is going to behave in public, especially restaurants. Here's the good news for the questionable mom. There's no ceiling, right? It's all trash when you bring your kids to restaurants.
It was horrible before. Yeah. It's going to be awful after. Just don't go to restaurants. It's really simple. Just leave your kids at home. Oh, they're too young, you might say. You know what? What the police don't know won't hurt anybody.
Hey,
okay?
If they're too young to be left home alone, they're too young to interrupt my dinner when I'm out at a restaurant, so don't be bringing your kids around.
Okay. Way to flip it around. Good job, Mike.
Thanks, buddy. Silked EDC. What do you think?
I don't know. Either way, this is one of the tightest handles on Instagram.
So they need
Silk DC _. So someone else had already taken Silk C.
Says her kids need to learn how to behave in public again. Aunt B705 says that she had a baby in 2020, and her adjustment is not going to be how the baby behaves in public, but how cautious she is. Like, is she going to let people near the baby again? You know how people come up to babies in stores and try to steal their breath, like the older people who need the life force?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Yeah. Or somebody just wants to see how cute the baby is.
Or like candy or something, if the baby has sort of candy.
Like a white van goes by and you're like, throw your baby in here, baby.
Exactly.
Mr. Baby, come in my van. Whether you're going to let people near your baby again or like near your kids, right, who can't be vaccinated at this point. Like, that's going to take some getting used to.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know.
Wow,
I mean,
no empathy for people going out there with a vulnerable
baby. My sister had a baby during COVID, and I don't know. It's all right. She's really over. She went hardcore, just like on the family group text, like, here's a picture of him sitting. Here's another picture of him also sitting. And we're like, it's so good. And then at some point, it's like, okay, we get it.
Yeah.
He's a very cute baby. But there's she's new to the posting about my kid.
All babies are cute unless they're not. And if they're not, you just don't say anything.
You don't say it. Luckily, this baby is very cute. But yeah, I mean, look, getting out there, I think also just in general, like meeting up. Hey, do you want to meet up?
Yeah.
Can we? No, I don't want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, you vaccinated? Yeah, show me.
Yeah, where's your vax card?
Yeah. Do you have that thing? You know that you have the app? Do you have the app where you put on?
No. Maybe. I don't know. I think I lost the card, but I think I lost it somewhere in my place.
You don't need the card. If you just there's like a New York State app that you can download, and you just put in your information, and it'll pull it up for you.
I try to stay away from social media. I don't think.
Yeah. But yeah, I think really just the concept of meeting up and like having beers and like doing random things. It's
weird.
But I have to get over that. I'm not.
You gotta dive in, right?
Yeah.
You gotta dive in. You gotta get back on that horse.
You know what it is, guys? Because I have no idea how this happened, but successfully managed to not bring COVID into my house, despite all like signs pointing that was going to happen from all the just various things the various dangerous things that I was doing at any given point when that was being pointed out to me.
Like your wife, I assume, yeah.
Yeah, well, just like and then using the phrase in a pandemic after any sort of sentence.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
You go
are
to the
you?
farmer's market.
Yeah, in a pandemic. Yeah, exactly.
So you mentioned meeting up. How about traveling? So
Ah,
Lonnie D. Hart says that they had a newborn when COVID started, and now she has to figure out how to travel with a toddler. First of all, you had to figure that out anyway. And again, like going to a restaurant, there's
yeah,
no figuring it out. You just bring the kid and hope for the best.
yeah.
Hope you get lucky. But traveling is going to be tricky to get used to. Although they do say like planes are like one of the safest places you can be because of the way that the
Totally.
ventilation works. But just like going to an airport and like being in line and being in multiple lines in that big enclosed space with all those people that you hate and that if you don't hate when you get there, you will hate by the time you get out of the security line. It's just a lot of people just haven't done any traveling
Yeah.
in a
Not
year plus. So I know you
flying.
did.
Flying
Like,
was not bad. I mean, yeah, it was. We flew in April, and it was actually. I mean, our experience was pretty good. I mean, we flew Delta, and they did the middle seat empty and everything. The whole thing was pretty easy.
but
And
there's going to be such an explosion. There's not going to be too many middle seat empty situations.
yeah, okay, but then again, that's the whole point. Why? Because everyone's vaccinated. So just
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, even if you weren't scared to travel, like you got lucky because there were fewer people. Now, whether you're concerned about getting sick or not, getting on a crowded airplane, it sucks. Just the whole experience.
okay, yeah, okay, fine. The general travel experience will suck. Okay, yes,
Once again.
I will say that. Yeah. But this is part of the hangover. Part of the hangover is now being hyper aware
Yes.
of your relationship to other people.
Yes.
Now, just taking a plane was a shitty experience to begin with, but now you're like, is it safe? Should we do it? Like all this other stuff, and I think that's part of the hangover that we need to kind of reconcile. And get back to just normal, like this person is really disgusting that I'm sitting next to, and I could get any sort of disease from them.
Why are they clipping their toenails on a flight? I don't know.
I had that happen to me one time. I flew from New York to London, and I had some woman who was sleeping, and she put her feet on the armrest,
Yeah.
and her toenails were, I just like, they will forever be burned into my brain. They were the most gnarly things I've ever seen in my entire life.
Ever.
To date. Yeah. I just wanted to share that.
What
woman.
do they taste like though?
Actually surprisingly disgusting. I was not. Look, I mean, the sight was strange, the smell was horrific, but the taste was what really threw me because I didn't expect it to be that bad, but it was.
So speaking of people who behave inappropriately in public places, Jessie Lee _Mick_D says that her kid now thinks pajamas are daytime wear, and that is going to take tackling him and forcibly grooming him to kind of get him ready to go back out in public. So my kid, even though he's been back at school hybrid for a few months, he'll come home and immediately just get on PJs because he knows he's still in the mode that like once he's in the home, he's not leaving. School is the one exception now, and just my toddler.
Wait, he'll change right into PJs
immediately. Yeah, probably because he gets home. It's like 4:00 and I'm in PJs.
yeah.
So like father, like son.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm a good role model.
You are.
My point.
Absolutely.
But again, like a lot of people make jokes about like now that they have to take the masks off, they have to like shave or like or brush their teeth or whatever. Start taking care of themselves again because we are going to be out in the world amongst our fellow humans.
Well, the one thing I realized is I loved wearing a mask because I'm a huge mouth breather, and it was just nice to just kind of
breathe,
walk around, just have my tongue out a little bit, and like that was cool.
So when we talked about this topic, and I mentioned this earlier, like the big thing that keyed on me was just like my demeanor and my mood and like my stress level after a year of this and all the things that have come along with it and just finally like it adding up. And a handful of parents seemingly sort of agreed with that kind of thing where Katie Logan 2015 says that like she's going to have to rein in her yelling. Like just being at home all the time, stuck inside as we get back to the real world. When you're in public and also then once your kids are home, like you don't have the excuse anymore of like I'm stressed by the pandemic or I'm with you people too much. Like we have to rein all that stuff in and get back to a more reasonable style of communication with our kids and with our spouses. She wants to start having family meals, well-balanced meals again. Because again, a lot of this became about like convenience or like I don't care, or groceries were harder to get, certainly at the beginning. Just eat. All you got to do is survive. I'm not concerned about anything else. In a year and a half, when the pandemic is over, we can get back to the good stuff. Well, guess what? Now you're back to that point.
Yeah.
All the stuff you've been putting off and being like, we don't have to worry about that for a while. Your chickens are coming home to roost.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I think the fact that we were so contained, just everyone living together, it was just it was like it's a pressure cooker, right? And so I think that there is some I think that there are definitely positives, and my hunch is that most, we'll probably remember the good stuff more than the bad stuff.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, but certainly just like the family movie, like we rarely did movie nights, like as a family.
I can tell. Yeah.
Yeah, because just again, just not into it, right? Like the family scene, basically.
You hate movies, yeah.
Yeah, and I hate movies. However, there were a couple classic, like What About Bob night, where we watched What About Bob. It was, I mean, my middle kid just could constantly tell me baby steps. So when you said baby steps earlier, yeah. Like it was just, it's so great to have your 10-year-old going baby steps to the door, baby steps.
She crushes you, man. She's take it easy, big fella.
Yeah, right? She's like, okay, big fella, baby steps to the door, baby. I'm like, get your mask, let's go. Baby steps to the door, baby steps to brushing your teeth. Yeah, so and then not only that, but then starting to connect the dots. What was it? Bill Murray was in another random movie, The Giver, or something like that.
Oh, really?
Was it The Giver? And wait, that's Bob. And it was just, anyway, it was funny. So
they haven't seen Ghostbusters?
No, we haven't seen Ghostbusters. Mainly because my 6-year-old is like scared. Just doesn't. No, that's not even scared. Just his attention span for movies just isn't really there. To be honest with you. And he just, it's such a bummer because like literally like 3/4 of the way in, you can just start to see he's like, okay.
We have that problem too because like our 10-year-old is getting to the level where like we're watching stuff that like we actually like with him and showing him that stuff.
Exactly.
And we'll want the 5-year-old in the room for family movie night, and he'll just, unless it's a cartoon and unless it's them really early, he's not into movies yet. Like
exactly.
Deal with it. Yeah.
So yeah. So but What About Bob was one of them. That was funny.
That's funny. We should put that on the list. I hadn't considered What About Bob. They've seen Ghostbusters and a handful of other Bill Murray movies. Stripes.
It's really it's so good. It's such a good story. The end is really strange, but it's really. I'm not gonna spoil it.
I don't remember the end. It's been a while.
It's weird. I didn't remember the end either, and it was weird. In a good way though, but.
So do you think, Mariana Fossati says that she became lazy as hell during the pandemic and she's not totally ready to emerge yet. How do you feel about that? Are you ready, regardless of the laziness thing? And I certainly, I don't know, back in the day before this thing, I would get up at like 6:30 and bring my kid to the bus stop at like 7 and then get on the subway and I would go to the gym and then I'd go to my office, come home and do that stuff. Now, I wake up in my PJs. I take meetings doing that. I don't shower until 3. Like the structure we were talking about earlier is there, but it's much looser. You can get away with a lot more. I have certainly, I think, become lazier. The concern isn't so much about that. It's about the readjustment in terms of having to start do that 6:30 thing again, going to work, interacting with people, having to look good. I've got to lose weight. I don't even fit any of my clothes anymore because I don't have my gym is in my office building. I haven't been there in a year and a half. So I'm not totally ready to emerge either. There's some things like I like sitting around watching movies. I like doing nothing sometimes. It's been an awful lot of it.
Right.
But like my wife is like chomping at the bit to get out there and start doing stuff again. Yeah. I'm kind of like, oh shit, our weekends are going to be super booked again, even more so than before since it's time to catch up on lost time. And that kind of stuff to me is like, oh, that's like one of the little bit of the cons for me, even though I know we need it. But just adjusting back to pre-pandemic reality, It's not gonna be easy.
I just love your style. You're just you and a mollusk would just like really get along. Just like, no, I'm cool here. Really, just
My
gonna
thing is, I'm good when
filter
I
the
get there.
air.
I'm good when I get there, but like
Yeah,
I
it's
don't like to
it's the
make the transition.
thought. It's the thought of going there. Yeah, it's
Exactly.
overcoming that inertia. Yeah, getting
Yeah.
out of PJs. Yeah, I'm okay. Like I like getting up and going, and I'm glad that we had things like soccer to just get the kids out. Honestly, it was kind of the whole. See, I mean, it was not much of a season. It was just to get the kids out and like running around and in some sort of organized fashion. But uh, yeah, I wasn't doing the pajama thing. I just that stuff was never wasn't bad. We
You and
used to
Big
do.
Perm just crushing it.
Yeah,
All
yeah, maybe, yeah.
lockdown long.
I just like that like stance that, as you say, the flex of just like, yep, no, we actually did a great job during the pandemic, and we're better for it, and we're looking forward to the
Yeah.
challenges ahead. You know,
You
it's
guys
just
are
like,
fucking jokers.
no,
You boys.
we used to go as a family. We got, I don't, my daughter was diagnosed with epilepsy prior to just before lockdown.
Mhm.
And so we just had part of it was just adjusting to that and like figuring that out and like kind of working through it. And exercise was a big part of it. We found very quickly early on that staying home all day and not doing anything
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
was a very, very bad idea for everybody. So we had to kind of
That's
get
big
out.
screens on top of that too, right? They're just inside on screens and not bringing any energy.
Yeah, I mean, it was. Yeah, I mean, exactly. There was a lot of also just like the not, the friends. They're not. The social dynamic was just totally gone as well. I mean, that was pretty. That was more so for my oldest kid versus the
Oh,
others.
see, that's funny. So, like, yeah, your oldest kid who's entering into high school, like,
Yeah,
is really full on into like the social thing. Where I
yeah,
was gonna say it was hardest for my 5-year-old in a way because he hasn't been in real school yet. Like this would have been his
right.
pre-K year. He had done some daycare. This would have been his pre-K year where like he's making friends and all this stuff, and instead he's at home and
Yeah,
doesn't have any real friends because he hasn't been in school. And when we do take him to the playground, when we started to do that again, and now on Little League, like he's just so desperate for like social interaction with other kids. He's going up
yeah,
like, do you like dinosaurs and snakes? He's got to know because he's not
yeah.
desperate enough to hang out with somebody that doesn't like
Yeah,
dinosaurs or
yeah,
snakes.
yeah. He's like, yeah, okay, I'm cool, guy.
Yeah,
Cool. Enjoy
pass,
your
white flag.
non-snake dinosaur life. Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, like that's funny. So like my 10-year-old obviously, misses his friends and misses that interaction, but he's also cool with doing a lot of that like online via
Well,
games.
yeah, there we go. I mean, that's the thing. Yeah, we had our kids in the young. I mean, this was the other thing was like we had the younger kids in a pod or a couple different
Yeah, yeah,
pods,
yeah.
So we had them. So they were seeing people, and everyone's like all tightly kind of managed and controlled. I mean, it was the same people every day, but that's fine. That's basically what school is anyway. But my oldest kid was really like at home by herself on the screens doing the thing. And in the beginning, we would all like at a certain point like go for a bike ride, like all of
Yeah.
us, like just
We
bike
talked about
ride
like
down.
family bonding stuff early on.
Yeah, and it was like it
About
was
different
pretty
stuff.
cool. I mean, I gotta say it was both surreal. It's weird being the only people out
Yeah.
in the city. Like when you're just literally there's like blocks and you're the only people out. That was
I
weird,
Am
and that was
Legend, your favorite movie, yeah.
it's just like I Am Legend, and that's what I would say to my kids, and they would say, Dad, literally, stop mentioning that movie. Just shut up, okay? No one wants to see that movie.
They want to talk about Enemy Mine. Let's be honest.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, there's things like that actually started off as being like little crazy, kind of nervous, like okay, we got to get out of the house, we got to do something, and then it became kind of interesting and fun, and I look back on that fondly. But now, as you say, like now everything started up again. It's like, oh, okay, we're gonna go meet up. All right, where should we meet? Let's go here. Oh, that's closed. Let's go there. That's closed too.
Yeah, that's
You
true.
know what I mean?
There's still a lot of roadblocks, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know, man. I think the city's gonna come back in a major way, in an absolutely bonkers way. It's gonna come back.
So
People are
I
gonna
and
be
like if
back.
I were like 25, I would be like psyched out of my mind about this the hot girl summer that's coming up. But instead, I'm 45, where I will be in September, and not all that much is going to change for me socially. I'll just be able to go to a restaurant once in a while and pay a shitload for a babysitter.
Yeah,
But I
and
can't wait.
pajamas. Yeah, I can't wait for babysitters to come back. What a great thing.
So we've gone on like 2 dates, like our anniversary, and then like this past weekend. This past weekend was fine; it was local, but we went into Manhattan one time, and like we're not taking the subway.
What'd you do with your kids?
We got a babysitter. This was like 3 weeks ago, right? Yeah. So we took Ubers both ways. So now on top, you're paying for dinner, you're paying for the babysitter, and now instead of like taking the subway, which is one of the joys of like living in New York, you're paying like $40 away to go from Brooklyn to Manhattan. So it's like spending a weekend in like Rome, except it was just a restaurant a mile away.
Well, why did you go to the city to go eat? You couldn't go to somewhere around where you are?
Whatever baby wants, okay?
Oh, okay.
What baby wants, baby gets.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess she got on the other end when her 2 choices were Top Gun and Made in Manhattan.
She chose Top Gun.
Okay.
Right now she's in the other room watching How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
Yeah, okay.
All right, I dodged that bullet.
That's good. Yeah, all right, man. Well, did we get it all? What do you think?
Look, Pete, has there ever been a time we didn't get it all?
No, we have. We really covered it all. I mean, our research is deep.
It is. It's best in the game.
The
best in the game. So what we got? This weekend we got Memorial Day coming up. Probably some barbecues. I don't know if people will be masking up or not.
Are you going away?
I might visit my family in Connecticut.
Yep.
And then after that, I think it's all bets are off for this summer, baby. It's time.
It's go time. It's go time. Yeah. All right.
I'm looking forward to it. Everybody stay safe out there. If you're eligible to get vaccinated, I would suggest that you do so. Trying to have hot girl summer here.
Yeah, exactly. And whatever you do, don't take hot girl summer away from Mike.
Honestly, it's what I'm just waiting for it.
You know how he gets.
Without my hot girl summer? Yeah, I'm grumpy. Read my Instagram post. I'm a pretty grumpy guy.
You are indeed, my man. All right. Well, listen, thank you so much, as always. And
listen and subscribe. iTunes, or it's not iTunes anymore. Apple, Spotify, and we podcast. Give us a 5-star rating. We could use a couple more. Take 2 seconds.
There we go. All right, everyone. Talk to you later. See you next time.
I don't know why you would still be watching This Isn't a Marvel Movie, no matter how much I look like Paul Rudd, which you can deny it all you want. It's there in the eyes, I think. I'm young looking like him. If you enjoyed the podcast, which you obviously did or you wouldn't be listening still, sign up on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you want to listen to. Comment here on YouTube, subscribe, hit that like button. We want to hear from you. Comments, questions, dirty jokes, money, all the money you can give us. We'd love it all. Catch you next time.